Talk Beyond 2014, bringing to you another edition of the Wrestling Discussion Series. And March 2nd, 2025 marks the moment that history was made at Elimination Chamber when John Cena shocked the entire world when he turned on Cody Rhodes and brutally attacked him, thus turning heel and selling his soul to the final boss himself, The Rock. And for today's special edition, I am going to be discussing the success and failures of John Cena's 2025 heel run from March 2025 to August 2025. So, John Cena turning heel after more than 2 decades as the quintessential babyface was something I thought we would never ever see. Now, for those of you who are long-time wrestling fans, John Cena has been a heel before. He was the Doctor of Thugonomics back in 2002 to 2003. He was part of the SmackDown Blue brand, and he feuded with guys like Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle, and The Undertaker. And he was a very entertaining heel. Very cocky, very vicious, and always looking for a shortcut to victory. And at one point, he declared himself as the veteran of WWE and that he was bigger and better than all of the legends. Now, a John Cena heel turn was something that fans had been clamoring for years because after John Cena turned face post Survivor Series 2003, he never worked as a heel ever again. He stayed as a babyface for over 2 decades, which is unthinkable when you're a WWE wrestler. And once he became WWE champion and he was positioned as the face of the company, fans very slowly started to turn on him because they didn't like the idea of John Cena being shoved down our throats. I was one of them. I couldn't stand it. Just got on my nerves. Every pay per view, John Cena would win against better opponents or even some guys who deserved a big push. And John Cena would just mow through all the talents. And he was built up to be this unstoppable Superman like figure that he would take a beat down and then eventually he would rise back up with his infamous 5 moves of doom, as the fans would call, and come out on top. And that got really stale in a hurry. And John Cena's gimmick got very tired and very boring and incredibly stale. And the hatred towards John Cena, and keep in mind that John Cena is the babyface here. Just keep that in mind. John Cena was getting booed every single week on Raw and on SmackDown and at pay per views. The hatred for Cena got so bad that the heels he would face got more cheers than he did. A prime example at WrestleMania 22, Triple H was the big heel going in against John Cena in the main event for the WWE title in Chicago, and the fans cheered Triple H. And got to remember as well, it wasn't even a year until Triple H's reign of terror ended, and the fans were already begging, "Please let Triple H win this." That tells you how bad things were for a guy like Triple H, who was shoved down our throats for like 3 years solid. The fans were clamoring for him to beat John Cena. They didn't care who the opponent was, they just wanted to see Cena lose. And throughout the 2 decades, we would get little teases. Oh, this might be it. Maybe John Cena might turn heel here. But it never happened. A prime example was at One Night Stand against Rob Van Dam, ECW home crowd. They absolutely hated John Cena. They despised him. And I guarantee you, if the fans saw Cena win, I think they would have probably murdered him. I think they would have had to double the security there. The fans hated his guts in ECW One Night Stand. They really got on his case. And I just watched that match not too long ago. It was a really good match. It was a fun match, but the crowd just absolutely crapped on Cena. And it's interesting because Cena, he didn't necessarily turn heel in that sense, but he worked the crowd and said, okay, you want me to act like a heel? Then I'll do it. And he showed great potential that he can work as a heel. And obviously, he would mix up with Kurt Angle. Fans wanted Angle to beat him. I mean, Angle, he's streets ahead of Cena in the wrestling department. He'd walk over Cena in his sleep. And Cena would show little moments of possibly teasing a heel turn, but it never happened. 2010, with the whole situation with the Nexus, when he was forced to join them, he looked like he was going to turn heel, but it never happened. So all throughout, we would get these little teases of Cena turning heel, but it never happened. I thought if there was ever a time to turn John Cena heel, I would have thought maybe in 2011 after him and Rock teamed up against R-Truth and The Miz at Survivor Series 2011. I thought maybe that could have been the time to do it. You see, what I'm getting at is WWE have had loads of chances to do this. I personally think the right time, and we'll talk about this as we go along here, I would have thought the right time to turn Cena heel probably could have been between maybe 2006 to possibly 2011, somewhere around that time, or maybe even 2012. Somewhere around that time they could have done it, but they never did. So as the years went along, fans got tired of waiting and hoping for a John Cena heel turn because we were told we would never ever see it because Cena was a big draw. He sold a lot of merchandise. Kids looked up to him, and obviously, it's well documented that John Cena does a lot of work for charities and different organizations, granting wishes to the kids. And, I admire that. I respect that, because like him or not, John Cena does a lot of good charity work for the kids. And I'm not taking that away from him. But that was the reasons why we'd never get a John Cena heel turn because of the kids. Now, I'm going to give you an example before we get straight to the main points. John Cena was the WWE champion in 2005. I was halfway through my second year of college, about to start my third year. And then fast forward to 2007, John Cena is still the WWE champion. I've long finished after 3 years of college, and it was just mind blowing. Like, oh my God, I was in college when Cena was champion, and I've finished college, and he's still champion. Little things like that got on my nerves, and you know, he very rarely ever took losses, and when he did lose, he never lost clean. Things like that bothered me so much, and I just didn't like that period of wrestling. And every episode of Raw that I would see just ended the same way. John Cena closing out the show, you know, and no matter who got big, they would always take a back seat to Cena, and I hated it. I really did. So, as we all know, John Cena announced that 2025 was going to be his final year. This was going to be his retirement tour, that he was going to wrestle a small handful of dates and make a certain amount of appearances, and that his final match will take place in December 2025. So, after all this time, after many years of working as a full time wrestler, John Cena has now taken a part time schedule. He comes in every few months, works a small program, works a pay per view, and then he leaves for a few months because now, by this point, John Cena has gone to Hollywood and he's making movies and he's slowly building himself up a reputation as a credible actor in his own right. I will still go on to say that Peacemaker is probably the best thing he's ever done as an actor. He's really struck gold with the Peacemaker character, and Peacemaker as a DC show, probably one of the best shows I've ever seen in recent years. John Cena has really showed that he can work as a cocky, smarmy prick. So, obviously it's there. And I've always looked at Peacemaker as this is what John Cena could be like if the handcuffs were off and he could work more as himself. So throughout this time, since Cena went part time, mostly he would get cheered. Very rarely he would get booed because fans now are much older and they now appreciate him more than they did back then. So each time Cena makes an appearance now, it feels more special. And for the most part, Cena is now a beloved veteran. He's now in that position where he's a legendary figure in his own right. And for the most part, the fans don't really hate him that much anymore. Obviously, you might have a small portion of fans who still hate him, which is understandable. But for the most part, fans like him. They fully embraced him. They said, well, we don't like you, but we respect you, and it's nice to see you, sort of thing. So, fast forward to the Elimination Chamber 2025 pay per view. John Cena won the Elimination Chamber and became the number one contender for the WWE title and was going to head into WrestleMania 41 against Cody Rhodes. This was going to be the big match. Two baby faces going at it with the gold on the line. This is going to be a classic match. Also, we thought. So, Cody Rhodes came out after, embraced John Cena, and pretty much said that you and I are going to go out there and have a great match. And John Cena pretty much said the same thing. Yep, let's do this. Let's tear the house down. Let's give the fans one of the greatest matches of all time. Not so fast. Out comes the final boss, The Rock, with Travis Scott. I try to forget that part. So, The Rock has been saying he wants Cody Rhodes' soul and he wants an answer yes or no. Cody Rhodes says no, and John Cena congratulates Cody Rhodes for doing the right thing, gives him a hug. Rock gives the signal, and Cena's smile changes and he kicks Cody in the nuts, brutally attacks him, busts him wide open, nails him with the WWE title, and turns heel, much to the shock and surprise of everyone, and leaves with The Rock and Travis Scott. I'm really having a hard time trying to talk about this shocking moment, knowing full well that Travis Scott was part of this. But anyway, he's irrelevant. So this was it. The moment we thought we would never ever see has finally happened. John Cena has officially turned heel after more than 2 decades. I couldn't believe it. I thought, holy cow, this is it. This is what we've been waiting for. This is going to be good. The heat he's going to get is going to be nuclear. This is going to be awesome. Uh, well, Not exactly. And here's where the failures are going to start coming in now. So after Cena turned heel, we didn't hear anything for quite a few weeks. Rock was a no-show, which was stupid because he was pretty much the catalyst for this. So he was nowhere to be seen. John Cena finally came out to give us an explanation about why he turned after all these years, why he did what he did to Cody Rhodes. And the explanation we got was kind of silly. He said that all the years you booed me, blah, 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 it bothered me. You know, I've got feelings too. All I've ever tried to do is please you, and it still wasn't good enough. And I just thought, okay, this is a good promo. I mean, it was a great promo, don't get me wrong, but I felt like this particular promo came years too late. Now, had they had done this turn years earlier, this explanation would have made a lot more sense. But the thing with this promo was there was no reason because the fans hadn't really booed Cena for quite a few years. They cheered for him every single time he came out. There was no reason whatsoever as to why he did what he did. And of course, as I said, The Rock was a no show. So that pretty much killed part of it off. Yeah, it was just hard. I mean, yeah, it was a good promo. The fans were into it. They booed him out of the building, but I can't help but feel that the boos weren't because they hated him. I think the boos were just done more or less to say, okay, we'll roll with it, but we're still going to cheer for this guy. Yeah, it just felt forced and phoned in. And John Cena made it very clear that he was going to go out of his way to ruin wrestling. And when he wins the WWE title, he's taking it back home with him because he recognizes that he is the last real champion left in the company. And yeah, the promo work from Cena, it was good, don't get me wrong, but it just came across as a bit whiny. And you know, all these years we were thinking, oh, we're going to get a real vicious John Cena, new theme music, new attire, new attitude, new everything. It was pretty much the same. It was pretty much the same. There was nothing different whatsoever. So, come to WrestleMania 41. John Cena won the WWE title. Yes, Travis Scott was there. What a joke. And I just felt his appearance took away from the match itself. The match wasn't that good. John Cena became WWE champion, but the heel run by this point wasn't really going anywhere. Yes, we had some good promos, but I didn't really feel that there was anything memorable whatsoever. Things started to pick up a little bit when he feuded with Randy Orton, and the little build up that they had leading up to their title match at Backlash was quite fun. It was quite enjoyable because we hadn't seen that for a really long time. But I'm not going to lie, you know, as big of a fan as I am of Randy Orton, I don't feel that John Cena versus Randy Orton is the big rivalry that WWE like to make out. I mean, they have even gone as far as to say that it's the biggest rivalry since Stone Cold versus The Rock. No, not even close. Having 1,000 matches doesn't make it a good rivalry. Look at Stone Cold versus The Rock. They didn't face each other that much when you look at it. But when they did, it was magic. It was special. It was epic. Gave us three excellent WrestleMania matches back to back. But it wasn't straight. It was like every couple of years, which works fine. But anytime Rock and Austin were in the same ring, it was like, oh boy, here we go. Oh, it's go time. I don't really get that same vibe from John Cena and Randy Orton. My reaction back then was, oh, not again. How many more times? But it was nice that they revisited their rivalry one last time. But as I said, I don't look back at that rivalry with fond memories. I look at it back fondly for one reason, because Randy Orton was built up to be this evil heel, which he was superb at. But other than that, yeah, I don't really have great memories of that rivalry, and I don't think it's as legendary as WWE like to make out. So John Cena retained the WWE title thanks to interference from R-Truth. This led to a match between them at Saturday night's main event, which John Cena won after a low blow. So clearly they're really trying to go for Cena being the cheating, devious heel, but the fans still wanted to cheer him. And then we would get John Cena and Logan Paul versus Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes at Money in the Bank 2025, which Cena and Logan Paul lost after interference from R-Truth. And by this point, the feud between Cody Rhodes and John Cena, they're already starting to build up a rematch, which we wouldn't get just yet. But the heel run itself, yeah, there was some fun moments, but there was nothing really memorable whatsoever. It was just more of the same promos. I'm going to ruin wrestling. Now, I feel the feud with CM Punk and the build up to Night of Champions was tremendous. It was really good. And John Cena did his mock pipe bomb of what CM Punk did from 2011. That was entertaining. It was really good. And him referencing Cesaro, Dolph Ziggler, and Zack Ryder was absolutely hilarious. Kind of felt like it was just CM Punk's pipe bomb but reversed, but it was still very entertaining. And the match that they had in Saudi Arabia at Night of Champions was a very good match, and John Cena retained the WWE title thanks to interference from Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, and Bronson Reed. But by this point, as entertaining as Cena's heel run was, it was starting to lose steam very quickly, and through no fault of Cena, because first of all, The Rock was the catalyst for all of this. He was nowhere to be seen. Cena was pretty much on his own, holding the bag. Yes, there were some entertaining promos. The crowd reactions were epic, but you can clearly see that this experiment was failing and failing very, very quickly. So, after facing R-Truth, CM Punk, and Randy Orton, and of course teaming up with Logan Paul as well. Yeah, you can clearly see that this heel run was slowly starting to draw to a close. So the rematch was set up for SummerSlam 2025, which was going to be a street fight. Cody Rhodes versus John Cena for the WWE title. And on the August 1st, 2025 edition of SmackDown, John Cena became a babyface once again. With no explanation whatsoever, fans speculated that, oh, this could be a swerve. Maybe John Cena might turn on Cody Rhodes and do something dastardly. Yeah, that didn't happen, I'm afraid. So, John Cena's heel run lasted almost a total of 5 months from March to August. So, not bad, but in terms of the success and failures, this was a complete failure. It was not good. It wasn't booked properly. It felt phoned in, very forced, and it just seemed like no one knew what they were doing. At times, they seemed like they weren't entirely sure what kind of story they wanted to tell. And, I give John Cena credits. He made it work to the best of his ability. But honestly, I felt that the heel turn just came years too late. And that's a real shame because had they had pulled the trigger years earlier, whew, this could have been one of the greatest heel turns of all time. I give WWE credit for wanting to shake things up a little bit, bring some interest into John Cena's retirement tour. But ultimately, this was a disaster. You know, The Rock not involved, that hurt it a lot. He should have been involved. I didn't expect him to be involved in the entire run. Just maybe come out once in a while, cut a promo, to really help put Cena over as a heel. We got nothing like that. And Cena was pretty much on his own. And the reason for Cena turning babyface again, there wasn't really much of an explanation. The most we got was the champ is here, or something like that. So yeah, it is a shame, but I give them credit for wanting to try something different and unusual. It got off to a pretty good start, but after a few weeks, yeah, it lost that heat very quickly. They should have capitalized on it when they had the chance, but they didn't. So yeah, ultimately, this was a fail, a real big, massive fail, an overall failure. It's a shame because all these years everyone asked for Cena to turn heel, and they finally pulled the trigger, and it just turned out to be a massive disappointment. And it's a shame, really, because it had all the potential to be something really special. But like I said, I think this happened years too late. They should have struck the iron while it was hot back then and really took advantage of the situation. But it is what it is. I appreciate what WWE were trying to do. They wanted to try and do something different, bringing the shock factor back. But yeah, ultimately, in the long run, this was a failure. And I think in years' time, when this is looked back on, yes, there probably will be some good points that are highlighted, but yeah, this was not a good experiment. But like I said, I appreciate and respect the fact they wanted to do something different, but yeah, this didn't work. Sorry to say, but hey ho, what can you do? These things unfortunately do happen. But I give Cena all the respect in the world. He stuck to his guns, did the best he could do with what he had to work with, and yeah, he had fun. But I think if people had cared a bit more, I'm talking more from the behind the scenes aspect, this could have been so much better. But what can we say? But at least we can now say Cena did turn heel. So it's not all bad. So that's going to be it from me. I'm going to wrap this up now. What did you guys think of John Cena's 2025 heel run? Did you enjoy it? Did you think it was a good move? Do you think it worked? Do you think they left it years too late to pull the trigger? Do you think this was a success or a failure? What was your favourite moments from this heel run? What would you have done differently? How would you have booked John Cena's heel run in 2025? What were your favourite feuds from John Cena's heel run? CM Punk, R-Truth, Randy Orton, or Cody Rhodes? And how would you have booked Rock's involvement in this heel run? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below. And I will see all of you next time for another edition of the Wrestling Discussion Series. So until then, take care, everybody, and stay safe. And once again, as always, much appreciated. Thanks for listening.